Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 9. I have a very special guest with us. I have Mr. V Vaidyanathan, MD and CEO of IDFC FIRST Bank. He has been a professional banker and then he became an entrepreneur. He started a small company and scaled it big. And then he merged it with a bank to acquire a banking license. He has been our partner on Leaders of Tomorrow for many years, and it is our absolute pleasure to have him again on Leaders of Tomorrow Season 9. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on the opening episode of Leaders of Tomorrow Season 9. And like I mentioned, you've been our partner for many years. It's been our pleasure to work with you on this great show.
Thank you. Thank you. Our pleasure as well. It's been like 8 years. Now you call it season 9. So really
Yes.
happy to be with you.
Absolutely. So now, we have had, we have been through a year which has been literally a roller coaster ride. We have heard many voices talking about economy, talking about the revival and things like that. But I remember you made a very important point few days back, which was basically very specific concerning to the SMEs and MSMEs, and specifically about the tax rates. It sounded like a unique thought to me, so I would like to start with that. Would you like to tell us briefly what is exactly your idea?
See, it's a concept that we've been trying to convey for a while that, large corporates all pay 25% tax rate, which frankly was higher earlier. It's now come down to 25%. But even small entrepreneurs who are earning maybe 20 lakh, 50 lakh, 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crore, they're also paying 25% tax rate. So they have many handicaps in life, starting from interest rates and so on. So therefore, one neat way is to actually give them a level playing field by giving them a bit of a shoulder, a bit of a lift. And that lift could come in the form of a lower tax rate. So the key thought basically was that for lower income, say up to say 10 lakh rupees, you pay only 5% tax rate. Maybe up to 50 lakh rupees, you pay only 10% tax rate. Maybe up to 1 crore, you pay only 15% tax rate. So you pay in a slabbed basis, like a progressive basis, like how personal income taxes are.
Now, obviously, I'll talk specifically about the kind of slabs that you have in mind. But prima facie, what are the benefits if this proposal is kind of implemented for SMEs and MSMEs? What are the key benefits that you foresee?
See, basically, we all know that large number of SMEs in India, though parallel economy in India has come down, but still in India, a large number of entrepreneurs do deal in cash. For them to pay 25% tax rate is, by the way, 25 is not too high, but when large corporates are paying 25, they could probably pay 5 or something. It gives a level playing field. Today, the biggest issue is that small entrepreneurs have everything is high cost for them. Interest rate is 15, 18% or 25%. Large enterprises borrow at 9%, 8%, 7%. In terms of quality of manpower, obviously, small entrepreneurs cannot acquire the kind of manpower, talent and so on and so forth. In terms of unit cost of economics, again, small enterprises have higher cost per unit cost of everything because of lack of scale. So this way, the big will keep getting bigger and has a distinct advantage over the small. If I'm borrowing at 4%, 5%, and other NBFC is borrowing at maybe 9%, 11%, 14%. So obviously, there is a fundamental disadvantage large corporates like ours have. So if small corporate get that lift, I think it will really help. And actually, it will bring them to parallel economy, out of parallel economy.
Mm-hmm. But I just have, out of curiosity, I have a question. Already, government has announced, various support measures and schemes, especially for small enterprises and small entrepreneurs. So, you think even after doing all of that, something like this is still required for probably a longer term growth?
See, government has over the years, and specifically over the last, I think, 1 year post-COVID, etc., a number of schemes have been announced. Let me say over the last 5 years, many schemes have come in terms of giving a certain project financing cost and subordinated debt cost. In fact, latest came from the emergency credit guarantee scheme at 9.25% for entrepreneurs. So there are benefits that have come, no doubt about it. But this is one stroke of a pen. Think about it. If someone is paying 30%, 25% tax, tomorrow pays 5% tax, they will not feel like dealing in cash. Remember,
Right.
let's be true. India still has a parallel economy. And entrepreneurs, whether we like it or not, have ways and means of of avoiding tax. For example, they can bill the personal expenses to the company. It can do it. If they go on a foreign holiday, they can probably bill it to their company. So
Mm.
and in the name of a business expense. So people do all sorts of things. So but the tax rate is only 5, probably they'll just avoid all that and they'll pay. And let me tell you, we are a banker, we are a lender to this
Mm.
ecosystem for the last 10 years, starting from our previous avatar. And we have financed like close to about 7 or 8 million of them. The fact is that when we do credit assessment for a large number of these entrepreneurs, we have to ignore the tax proceeds and filings, go back and see the parallel books, see the real income and lend to them. Imagine if we didn't have to do all that and their income was truly reflected, how easy they will all find to get credit.
Right. So do you have a specific proposal, or if I would say, if I can use that word, a sort of a structure or slab or something in mind? I mean, what's on your mind?
So basically, it's a slab structure. It's like personal income taxes slab. This is also slab. It's progressive. But it's a proposal to say that for up to 10 lakhs of PBT, note the word profit before tax, they pay only
Mm.
5% tax, not 25 as they would pay today. Up to 10 lakhs to 50 lakhs, they pay 10% tax.
Mm.
Up to PBT of 50 lakhs to say 1 crore, supposing they were to pay say 15% tax. Say
Mm.
supposing 1 crore to 5 crore, they would pay say 20% tax. And say above 5 crore, they would pay 25% tax. Now, this is no benefit to large corporations like ours or the 2000 or large corporations. It's not for that, because frankly we make thousands of crores of profit and therefore it's a round of change. But someone making just 10 lakhs can just pay 5 lakhs of tax. So this is really for
Mm.
millions of small entrepreneurs. And the key thing I'm trying to point out is that not just companies,
Mm.
proprietorships, partnerships, LLPs, you run business in any way. If you make profit, you pay less tax at lower income levels. So that's the brief thought. I just hope it rings a bell.
Well, sir, I have a question. In that case, already the economy is sort of uh, finding its way out of one major shock that we had in the name of COVID. Now, what happens to the tax collections? Because we have seen indirect taxes, especially GST, it has been very volatile. Now, if we implement something like this, which is a major reform, obviously it's going to be a game changer. But is this the right time to implement, and what happens to the tax collection projections?
See, first of all, this will benefit millions and millions of small enterprises. So,
Mhm.
and you do know that small enterprises create 110 million jobs in this country, or not create, meaning they employ. So it's important. Now, in terms of fiscal, I would say that a lot of them anyway avoid the tax. The
Mm.
famous Laffer curve that you drop the rate, tax rate goes up. I mean, that's been applied across the board. But if you would specifically apply for small enterprises, people who don't pay tax, if they pay tax, then even
Mm.
your 5% may give you more tax than billing them 25%. It's possible. I haven't done the maths on this, and government will know better, but just a thought really to consider. I think big education has to happen along with this measure, where we educate like a full page ads or whatever, to explain people that now you start paying a tax only 5%, and it'll help you. And by the way, anyway, paying taxes every citizen's duty.
So one more question is, and you're right, this can probably increase the compliance. This can increase, I would say, the ease of doing business factor, especially for smaller enterprises to a large extent. Uh, but this is probably one part of the problem. I think the SME, MSME industry is actually facing issues on multiple fronts, right? From supply chains to, various issues. Uh, so then can this really sort of kickstart the boom in this space, which is so critical for the overall economy as well? I mean, what is
See,
your view on that?
I feel this can be one big tool. See, there are many issues, and we've got to sort them one by one. I think government is working on many of them. RBI is giving specific focus on MSME and calling it priority sector. Government wants to focus on it. Ministry wants to focus on it. So people are focusing on it. Reforms are frankly the best things and the best antidote for things to happen. But in the end, to also have a lower tax rate is, let me say, it's an important shoulder. And let me tell you, sometimes this can actually improve the tax compliance and bring them to the main economy. They may not feel like dealing in tax, in black money if tax is only 5%. It's a Laffer curve theory. I
Right.
mean,
But sir, would you want to kind of restrict this proposal only for small and medium enterprises or SME, MSME sector as we call it? Or do you think that something like this can be tried for the entire corporate community of India? I mean, what is your take on that?
No, like I said before, this is a tax code for the entire corporate sector. Not this is, I mean, proposed for the entire corporate sector, LLPs, partnerships, everybody. The benefit will come to the small enterprises naturally because larger corporates
Right.
anyway will not benefit from 1 or 2 crores, not going to move their life. The issue where people have not often done that thus far, right? Typically, objection for a proposal like this is that if someone is making say 10 crores of profit, they will split it into 3 companies and earn the lowest tax slab of every company. This has been the traditional worry about giving progressive tax rate to companies generally.
Hmm. Hmm.
My commentary to that is that theoretically is possible, but it's very, very difficult now. Because after GST has come, imagine someone split the company into 3 companies for the sake of tax lower slab. Think about it, they've got to have separate GST registration, separate IGST registration, separate state GST registration, separate income tax number, let me say, company secretary, separate board. It's just so difficult for people to split it up that much. I mean, they can do it, but then it's so much of an effort. So I'd say that the benefit will far outweigh the odd people who might try to game the system.
Right. Will this also improve access to credit for small enterprises?
100%. Because like I told you that when we give credit, we often have to understand the true credit, cash capability of a person. They don't show it in the P&L, but it is somewhere there in the books. We can see the cash, and that's how we lend. Now, so we all know it's still rampant in the country. Of course, I must say with the effort of the government over the last many years, parallel economy has come down. Definitely, but still not eliminated. We know that. So when we give credit, for example, our ability to simply scrape somebody's bank statement and see the income in the bank statement and lend the money to the customer on the basis of cash flow, P&L, definitely it will improve. I think big education has to happen along with this measure, where we educate the like a full page ads or whatever to explain people that now you start paying a tax only 5% and it'll help you. And by the way, anyway, paying taxes every citizen's duty. We all know that, and I think that.
Absolutely. Like they say that every crisis actually creates opportunity to push through major reforms. We have seen that happening. So I hope this also gets due importance in the relevant ministries. But sir, I also want to ask you about the overall state of economy at this point, because we have seen a huge dip and then we have seen recovery. We have seen that happening in even the high frequency numbers in terms of indicators. Uh, at this point, how assured are you about a solid recovery being in place?
Uh, well, I think definitely all of us are feeling a lot more assured. We can see the indicators by talking to entrepreneurs and talking to businesses. Everybody talks about business coming back between 60-70%, and some businesses have actually gone past 80-90%. And of course, there are some new sectors which actually gone past 100%. But let me say, but most sectors are between 60 to 80%. I think recovery is definitely strong and back.
Right. But sir, as a banker, then is it reflecting in the bank's collection data? I mean, what is your sense on that?
No, collection data is showing very strong. Actually, it's like more like 95% of the pre-COVID collections have come to 95, 98%. In some segments, even 100%. So it is showing in collections already, and you will see that in the respective results of almost all banks and certainly ours.
Right. Now, if we were to take a sectoral view, and obviously there were some sectors who were dependent heavily on the traditional way of functioning, probably the small manufacturing units and textile and things like that, they have suffered, I would say, the biggest blow in terms of COVID impact. And then at the same time, there are other sectors, especially ones who are dependent on digital ecosystem, who have done exceptionally well. So how do you look at this change going forward? I mean, the behavior of a small and medium enterprise, how is it going to change going forward?
See, basically, we all know that sectors which are very touch focused, like airlines, hotels, tourism, say gems and jewelry, obviously they have got badly affected. They've still not recovered, let me say, anywhere close to the pre-COVID times. We know that, and the whole chain of people who are supplying to those entities, whether to an airline, to a hotel, the whole supply chain, obviously everything's got affected. It'll come back when it come back, maybe with a lag. But the sectors which are, there are many sectors which are also coming back much stronger, and particularly which had a very which could quickly ride on to the digital journey.
Mhm. So at least we can confidently say that we are firmly out of the woods, or the worst is behind us from economic indicator point of view. Can we
Yes,
say that
it's
comfortably?
definitely we can say that. I think it's also, we can say beyond that. I think we've had one learning from the whole COVID, that next time if there's a crisis of this magnitude, at least we will not, and we should not, and the world should not panic as much as it did for COVID, because end of the day the underlying demand is so strong. It is proven, I think, in the last couple of months.
Right. So, we have been talking about entrepreneurship on Leaders of Tomorrow for many years, but this is obviously a unique year. If you were to kind of, share your vision or share your message, I would say, to our viewers or everybody who's watching this show and trying to do something on his own or trying to get inspired, what would be your key message to that person right now who's watching this show?
See, there are two things. One is people, and let me say, one of the themes of your own program is empowering a billion dreams. I assume that the new startup ecosystem is going to be a big part of that storyline. Now, the one of the things to note is that there are many, many, many sectors. We talked to sectors that are affected. Many sectors are actually coming back. If you take of agri tech, there are now people which are traditionally for 100, 500 years maybe never reformed or didn't reform substantially. Suddenly, there are maybe 400, 500 agri-tech companies. There are so many education tech companies. India has maybe 1,000 universities and 300 million students in schools, and suddenly people are creating platforms to make that happen. Maybe the video technology industry is a new industry, the one which we're right now conversing on, and Zoom and Teams and all that. Then let me just say that, like this, sector after sector is now finding new ways of growing. Payments industry is growing. That's our world. We're seeing it every day. Now UPI is like 2 billion transactions a month. It's like unbelievable, 200 crore transactions. So what I'm saying is that every sector is also seeing a very digital avatar of itself and growing, and therefore anybody starting now should of course focus on the new sector which has an opportunity of multiplying from even post COVID.
Right.
In fact, specifically post COVID.
Absolutely. And somebody who was unfortunately, probably not unfortunately, but maybe stuck with the older way of operating, or maybe stuck with that ecosystem, I think this is the right time for them also to begin their
They need to
journey
do.
of
I mean, some
transition.
businesses are fundamentally hard to pivot. Okay, we can empathize with that, right? If you're in gems and jewelry business, now how are you going to pivot into an electronic? People have to maybe a little bit of sales and marketing can, but people will still want to buy those goods. So there will be some sectors which will get affected, but for many other sectors, pivoting is happening.
Well, that's really heartening and nice to hear. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.